The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Morning, everyone. This is Dinesh from WSI ALM, welcoming you to another edition of our LaunchPad Webinar series, the 28th of October. I got a pretty sick colleague here with me today, Armando.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Yeah, under the weather for today, but we'll be okay. I think it's a fall season, change of weather, kids getting sick, and you will end up getting sick, but we shall move on.
The show keeps going on. All right, terrific. So for everybody, I believe I see a few new faces. So just a quick recap on our format. So what we usually do is that we cover our latest news and events and articles that we feel are important for the ICs to be aware of. So we cover that in the first part of the webinar, and then the second part of the webinar deals with some case studies that we showcase, case studies in different industries, case studies showcasing some service offerings that we have, whether it's SEO, paid advertising, etc. And this week, Armando has another really interesting case study lined up for you. That's to do with local SEO for a client based out of, I believe, Issaquah in Washington. So that should be an interesting case study for everybody to be paying attention to. So look forward to that. And then, of course, our usual Q&A. So if you have any questions that are related to today's webinar, any of the topics that we've presented today on, or if you have any questions generally related to digital marketing in general, please feel free to put them in the chat box, and then we'll definitely take these questions as we go along. All right, terrific. So let's get started here. So the first news item of the day that we wanted to tackle was Google testing a new mobile-friendly design. And we've covered a couple of different news items as far as Google and mobile are concerned. Mobile is obviously becoming increasingly important as far as Google's algorithm is concerned. We've seen Google making a couple of changes with regards to how they're displaying or giving importance to mobile-friendly sites. We talked about how there's an icon that's appearing on the actual search ranking pages that actually shows you whether your site's actually mobile optimized or not. If it is, you get a tablet insignia, and if it's not, then you get a crossed out tablet insignia right next to your website URL that tells the user, hey, the site's mobile friendly or it's not. And we'd already covered that in our previous webinar. The other change that Google did was they actually started doing text-based notifications. So right next to your website, they'd actually say mobile friendly or not mobile friendly. So discouraging or encouraging a user to actually click on your website. Now, this is the latest test that's come about in Google's whole area of mobile friendly design. So Google started promoting a different sort of almost like a language. It's called the material design. And Google's been talking about it a lot. And I'm going to showcase a website that talks about material design quite extensively. So for all of you that want to research this whole area more in detail, that's a great website to start off with. But basically, here's two listings that appeared that were showcased on one of the websites. So if you look at the listing on the left-hand side, Jason's Wood Entertainment, this is kind of like your standardized listing on a cell phone device. So, you type in the quaint Jason's Woods, you get the map listing on the top, and then you have the information associated with this local business, Jason's Woods Entertainment, you have his rating, and then you have his telephone number, et cetera, right? Now you look on the right-hand side, and this is all material design, where you see it's a little more aesthetically appealing. There's a picture that's appearing there on the top. There's the ratings and the company name that's highlighted with the blue color, so it's kind of standing out. And then you have the call, directions, the website. It's a lot cleaner. It's a much cleaner interface when you compare it to the left-hand side. And then you also have a little description about the actual business itself. So it says, a farm hosting seasonal Halloween-themed activities, including a hayride and haunted house, cash only, right? And then you have the address right at the bottom. So the listing on the right-hand side is what Google's trying out with material design. That's the formatting that they're using on the right-hand side. And again, it's all about user experience. So they're doing a lot of testing with mobile right now. So this is another test that started to appear on the right-hand side. This is what some of the businesses are seeing when they actually search for their listing on Google through a mobile device. And as I mentioned to you, it's all to do with material design. So I put the link in our screenshot in this particular slide over here. where you can get more information about material design. But here's the website. So basically, when you're looking at material design, Google's goal is, and they begin by saying that to their whole cause as their mission statement, we challenge ourselves to create a visual language for our users that synthesizes the classic principles of good design with the innovation and possibility of technology and science. And that's really what is material design. The spec is a living document that's going to be updated as we continue to develop the tenets and the specifics of material design, right? And then you see what they're basically talking about. The goal for material design is to create a visual language that synthesizes classic principles of good design with innovation and possibility of technology and science. And then it talks about all the different principles, materials and metaphor. It's got to be bold, graphic, intentional, motion providing meaning. And then if you actually click on it, true to its form, this is also mobile friendly. So as you can see, here's all the different topics that this document addresses. Material design, what it is, and then all the different characteristics of material design, broken down into different chapters. Animation, style, layout, components, patterns, usability, and finally resources, right? So if you want layout templates, you can go here to the resources section, right? So you have all these different templates here. So if you click on the mobile template, the mobile layout template includes a variety of 10 screens. Use the layers palette to toggle and unlock key line spacing. So you can download some of these templates from here with regards to material design. And then you have tablet, and then you have desktops and white frames. Again, so for all the designer, the designer inclined ICs that are kind of like signed on for a webinar today, material design is something definitely to research more into because Google's paying a lot of attention to this. Something that you want to definitely look into. All right, so that was our first news item of the week. The second news item of the week, I mean, is refreshingly different. It's not Google for a change. All our news recently seems to be circling around Google. So this is something to do with Bing. As I mentioned to you, we'd been to the Bing conference a couple of weeks back at the Toronto office, and Bing's quite enthusiastic about the things that they want to do as far as increasing the market share is concerned. And some of the things that they've rolled out recently are definitely a step in the right direction. So at a recent conference in, I believe it was in Washington, or in California, I believe, where Google, the executives at Google introduced a whole bunch of different changes that they're doing as far as the Bing network is concerned. And some of these changes include having a display network that's very similar to Google's AdSense. So they're in the midst of enhancing their display network and getting more and more sites as a part of their display network so the sites can make money by actually showcasing ads from Bing, exactly kind of like how Google AdSense works. And they're in the midst of launching this, and that should be coming out pretty soon, which is going to be awesome. Then they also are talking about remarketing. So remarketing capabilities are being launched. They'll be limited to search to start. And again, very similar to Google, you would have the ability to create different audience lists based on your website and start doing remarketing activity via Bing paid search. So that's another interesting development that's happening. Universal event tracking, so you can basically track different site behavior metrics like bounce rate, time on site, pages per visit. All of this is now like more robust. They had this feature already, but now it's a lot more robust for tracking goals, conversion events. So they've introduced something called this UET, this universal event tracking, as a part of their analytics, which makes their data a lot more robust and a lot more things that you can do as far as this data is concerned. And then there's also cross-device tracking that they've introduced. So basically you can look at various different devices and how they're interacting on your website and all the different data analytics associated with that, right? Again, the whole idea to strengthen the analytics side is to give you enough insight and information so that you can start spending more money on Bing at the end of the day. That's really what the goal is, right? Now, one of the changes that they did, and not a change, essentially an enhancement that we wanted to talk about separately, is Bing Ads has finally delivered an MCC, and that's really sort of like a master client center account. So for all the ICs or all the agencies that are out there, that utilize Bing ads. No more logging into different accounts one by one and painfully trying to optimize every single campaign. Bing's now delivered something which is their equivalent of a Google MCC, which is Bing's MCC, Master Client Center, and all of your accounts are now consolidated into one master account, as you can see in the screenshot. So you can basically look at all your accounts in one interface itself. You can see what the performance is like, their main metrics like clicks, impressions, click-through rate, conversions, et cetera. And you can basically look at the performance of all your different accounts across the board, all consolidated into one Master Client Center account. So this is a requirement for the longest time for agencies, and it was a big deterrent for bigger agencies, larger agencies, to utilize Bing ads because there's really a painful activity to log in to individual accounts and then optimize campaigns. And by now incorporating this MCC, it's a lot friendlier for the agencies, and I'm pretty sure that this is going to go a long way in terms of agency adoption of Bing as being a sort of like a standard way to do PPC advertising along with Google, the way Google is right now. And again, we've shared this in the past, but in our experience, Bing's converting fantastic. Its cost per conversion is, we've seen it in several different occasions that Bing's converting at a much better cost per conversion than Google. Google's more expensive for obvious reasons. There's a lot more competition there. There's a lot more awareness for Google, whereas Bing's still kind of like that under the radar, sort of like a hidden, search engine. It's only got like 20% of the search traffic that's out there. So tons of opportunity with Bing. So the MCC is a great opportunity to manage Bing accounts a lot better and handle your client campaigns. Okay, so there's again, can't go a couple of slides without news on Google, right? So here you go, Google again. So Google's tweaked its algorithm, and they announced something called a pirate update, right? And the pirate update's to basically do with sites like Pirate Bay or free movie websites or torrent-based websites. So the piracy is obviously a big concern, a big issue on the internet, and you have all these sites like BitTorrent. BitTorrent obviously made it very popular, so you can basically download movies through torrent sites. And what torrent sites are, they basically are sites where they basically reduce the file size to a very great extent. They're written in a different language so that you can actually download the information a lot faster, right? Harder to track torrent sites as well. So Google's made a huge update as far as their algorithm is concerned. It's being dubbed as a pirate algorithm update in the industry. And the rollout, interestingly, comes right after the chief executive News Corp that actually owns the Times and the New York Post had basically written a really scathing article and then also complained to the European Commission, where he called Google a platform for piracy. And he cited a lot of examples on how Google was inadvertently promoting piracy by having sites like, you type in free movies, free music, download movies, download music, and he had all of these torrent sites that were coming up, and they were encouraging piracy. All right, so he'd written this article about a month back or so, and interestingly enough, Google's made a huge update to their algorithm soon after, and you see sites like Pirate Bay, torrents.eu, that's a very popular torrent site, being really massively impacted after this particular pirate rollout. So from our friends at Searchmetrics does a fantastic job of tracking sites that are being impacted by the algorithm updates. So here's, and again, we in no way, shape, or form want to try and promote piracy and showcase these sites for having you guys go and check them out, but here's a list of the top 30 sites that have been severely impacted as far as the pirate update is concerned. So as you can see, there's movie4k.to. I know that's a very popular site with a lot of people to download free stuff. Kickass.to, Pirate Bay, torrents.eu. All these sites, as you can see, have lost anywhere from 96% to like 69% of their traffic. I mean, if you look at a majority of these sites as you're browsing through the list, you see that they've lost almost around, on an average, about 80% of their traffic. organic traffic, that is. So all these torrent sites were hit pretty massively with this particular update. So I just wanted to keep you in the loop there. So as we were talking about Google's mobile experience, all the IT should be paying attention trying to understand how your site or your client site or your prospect sites are actually doing on the mobile version for Google. How are they being perceived? Are they being blocked by the crawlers? Is there any issues that are associated with the mobile versions of our client sites? So there's two tools that we wanted to showcase today that you can basically look at in terms of utilizing them for mobile optimization purposes, right? So the first one is the Google Developers Page Speed Insights. I know we've covered this in some of our previous webinars, but it's a good refresher to kind of take a look at either your website or your client's website and see how it's doing. Just for example's sake, let's just do Yahoo, right? So let's just do a quick search in Yahoo. Let's analyze it. Really quick, works really fast, the Page Speed Insights tool. So you just put in the URL, and then you just hit Analyze, and then it's going to basically break down the information for you for desktop and for mobile. Okay, so there seems to be an issue on the mobile search where it's encountered an error. The desktop is pretty well, so Yahoo's desktop's loading fantastic. It's scored an 84 out of 100, which is awesome, right? Let's try and run it for Yahoo.ca. I know I'd run it earlier and it wasn't showing any errors. Let's try this. Again, you can actually even do it for specific pages. So if there's a landing page that you want to test in particular, you can actually put in the whole URL in this box and then hit Analyze, and it's going to analyze the page speed for desktop and mobile for that particular landing page. So you don't necessarily need to do it for your home page. You can do it for any page on your website, right? Okay, great. So here you go. Here's the feedback that's coming out. So if you look at the desktop, Yahoo Canada is 100 out of 100, which is fantastic. So you can definitely use this as an example for comparing a perfect site that scores 100 out of 100 with regards to another website that doesn't, that's scoring poorly. So you know, when the client's asking you, hey, what do I need to do? So here's what you need to do. Here's 100. You're at 50. Here's all these elements that are being perfectly optimized by Yahoo in their site. And then you go to the mobile version. Even the mobile version is doing pretty good. Scored an 84 out of 100, and as you can see, Google's looking at a lot of different areas. You're looking at you know, user experience, plugins, viewport, size the tap targets appropriately for mobile, and then you also have a whole bunch of different speed-related issues that can impact your response time, right? So again, this is a great example of a site that you can utilize in your proposals, in your presentations. Utilize Yahoo.ca as an example. It's doing really well as a website. 100 on 100 and 84 on 100 as far as mobile is concerned. So the second tool that we wanted to demo, before I demo the second tool, let me just move my slide here. So the second tool that we wanted to demo was Feed the Bots mobile SEO tool, and it's a pretty neat website. They have tons of other tools, but their mobile SEO tool is pretty cool. So again, let's just utilize Yahoo, and let's see what it shows us. So, and I'm going to show you some of the other tools that Feed the Bot has in its arsenal. But the mobile SEO is a pretty neat tool because it actually gives you feedback on whether any of the pages on your website are actually being blocked and not being crawled as far as mobile SEO is concerned. So it actually takes a look at that. It is a big site, so it's taking a bit of time to crawl yahoo.ca, and then it's going to basically give us the information here in a second. While it's doing that, I mean, here's some of the other tools. So here's all the different characteristics that it looks at, right? Mobile methods, page speed, configure the viewport, don't block page resources, use legible font sizes, tap targets, size matters, right? So these are all the different elements that it's basically looking at and trying to see how compatible your website is. I should have probably checked something else. It's probably a big site that it's kind of indexing going through. Okay, great. So it's actually done it, and then you can see over here. So you know, user experience problems, none. The size tap targets are appropriate. Mobile performance issues, none. Seems to be pretty good. Then you talk about Google bot access, robots.txt, everything's being configured effectively, which is great. Any block resources, none found, which is great. There's a canonical tag, the HTTPS, redirecting to the Yahoo Canada site. Mobile response HTTP headers, it looks at your headers with regards to the code. And any mobile redirects, and there are no redirects, so it actually points that out to you, right? So this is basically the information that this particular tool provides. Again, it's just to validate the information that the PageSpeed Insight tool gives you, and it's just another way of checking and seeing whether your mobile site is being indexed properly by all the different search engines. So it's pretty good from that perspective. So we definitely encourage the use of these tools, and for all of you that are curious about this particular website, they have some pretty cool tools. It's called feedthebot.com, that's the website. And as you can see, there's the image SEO tool that examines the images on a page, and they check for all tag usage, etc. Google Guidelines check, determines if your website or blog's following the Google Webmaster Guidelines. PageSpeed tool. A mobile SEO tool is the one that we just ran right now. Social media count. The gzip compression, that's like to do with site speed. And then there's your link report here, which is also pretty neat. Breadcrumbs, address schema, right? So you can display a business address in a way that search engines understand it. This is like your local schema to optimize that. So it's a pretty neat resource for tons of tools that are out there for SEO. Great. All right. So this should be quite interesting, and again, something that all of you can put into your presentations and your proposals for your clients and your prospects. So you had SEO Clarity. They recently did a study as far as click-through rates are concerned, both for desktop and for mobile. Some really interesting data. So let's actually look at what they found out. And we'll download this. We'll get a copy of this. We'll actually put it up on K2. And then if you can easily download it yourself. But what they're basically looking at, and you can understand how they did this study, they've given you a good sort of an understanding of their data sets and the methodology and the data points. So they basically studied over 2 billion impressions. Hence, they're pretty confident in terms of the statistical validity of this data for every rank and every positions. In fact, they say that there was a minimum of 35 million impressions per ranking position. Right? There was about 2.68 million clicks, broken down over 2.2 million unique keywords. So I mean, it's a pretty comprehensive study that they've done, right? Now, let's look at the desktop model first. So I mean, if you're ranking 1 for any particular keyword search in organic, you're going to be getting about 19% of the searches. And this is a number that's been validated by a lot of studies. I mean, it's consistent with some of the studies that have been done in the past, where if you're ranking 1 in organic, you're going to be getting about 19% of the searches. The second position drops to about 11%, and so on and so forth. And you drop to 7, 5, 4, 3, and finally, if you're the 10th position on the first page in Google, you're probably looking at a 2% click-through rate, right? So not a lot of surprise as far as the desktop part of their study is concerned. But take a look at this. This is pretty crazy data. So when you go on to mobile, look at what happens here. So if you're ranked number 1, if a user is on a mobile device and they're looking at Google's organic searches, if you're ranked 1, your probability to get that click is 28%. And look at what happens to you if you're actually the second position on a mobile device. It drops from a whopping 28% all the way down to 9%. That's a drop of almost like 10% from position 1 to position 2. So what this tells us is there's a couple of things that are coming out of here. When you're trying to rank your site for mobile, you either be number 1 or nowhere, because the drop is pretty significant. And more importantly, when you're doing paid advertising, you know the old adage where it's like, it's like I'll be in position 2 or 3, and that's where I'll get the, the threshold, the sweet spot for getting the most number of relevant clicks with the relevant conversions. Well, if you do look at that, and if you are doing paid advertising and you want to maximize your impressions and your clicks and your branding for your particular keywords, then you better be in the top spot, because that's where users are clicking on the most, right? So Again, if you're looking at mobile, position 1 is getting 27.7% of all the searches. Position 2 is getting about 9%. Position 3 is getting about 3.9%, which is kind of interesting. And this is to do with the placement, remember? So position 3 is getting about 3.9%, 4 is getting 6.7, 5 is getting 4.8, and so on and so forth. And then again, if you position 10 in the mobile version for Google search, you're then probably getting about 2.8% of all the clicks, all the impressions that are taking place for that particular keyword. But a very interesting data set when you look at the first position and you look at the second position. So the goal is, and for any sort of like mobile campaigns that you're running and you want to maximize your click-throughs, you got to rank in the top spot. That's what all the action is. Very interesting study, so definitely do download that white paper in terms of the study that they've done, and this would be a really useful screenshot for desktop and mobile and click-through rates so as to educate your prospects, and again to let them know that SEO takes time, but the rewards are definitely there, because if you start ranking in the top 2 or 3 positions for keywords on desktop and mobile, look at the amount of click-through traffic that you'd be getting without actually having to pay for it. So the SEO investment is going to be worthwhile in that case. All right, so here's some news for our European. I see some European ICs that are logged on. So here's some news for European and North African ICs. So Google recently announced that their Webmaster Trends team wants to actually visit offices for digital marketing companies or just regular companies, agencies, website owners in their office. And they actually want to watch them, observe them as they're managing their website's content and the infrastructure. And this includes observing developers, designers, search engine optimizers in your team, decision makers, because they want to try and obviously understand, see how you're interacting with your website and what they can potentially do to make things better, right? Now, funny enough, it's only for Europe and North Africa at this stage, and primarily because I guess Google needs to do a lot of work in those areas so as to make the Webmaster tools a lot more friendly, which is why they want to try and come in and observe a lot of the data sets. And if you are interested, if you happen to be in Europe or in North Africa, and if you're interested to participate in this particular study, then here's a form, and the link is on our presentation slide deck over here as well. But here's the actual form. As you can see, we'd like to learn more about how we can help manage your sites easier. This is for everyone. It doesn't matter if your site's huge or small. We're interested in all kinds of websites. We're happy to travel to any place in Europe and North Africa, and then at the end of the visit, we'd be happy to answer your questions, etc. And then here's a form that you need to basically fill out. So even if you're a North American IC that's logged on, but you do know of ICs in Europe and in North Africa that might be interested in this study, it would be worthwhile just sharing this link with them. All right, so at this stage, I'm going to pass it on to Armando. Over to you, Armando.
Thank you, Vinish. Great. This week we have a very interesting and short case study as well. And I know that throughout the IC community we have ICs that focus on different types of businesses, and sometimes they ask us about home professional services businesses, as well as small businesses. Usually 1 to 2 man shop, mom and pop type of businesses. And I wanted to share this case study that you may be able to present to your clients. And this is the case for AlbertaSepticSystems.com. It's really a business that provides septic pumping, septic maintenance. It has a lot of different services that they provide, including home cell inspection. And we've actually been working with them for quite a while, over 2 years now. And one of the key reasons I wanted to share this case study with you was the fact that SEO does work locally for the small mom and pop shop. As long as they're patient, as long as they are persistent, they have the perseverance to go a long way, it does generate results. Okay. However, one of our biggest challenges is really managing the client's expectations, and I think that the IC who's who's the account owner for Alberta Septic System, has done an amazing job really working with them. It hasn't been a rosy path, but till this day the client seems to be very happy with the results. Or at least happy, to say the least. No client will ever say, "Oh, I'm very, very happy." Seldom do we hear that. But Alberta Septic System it's a small business, and the first thing that we recognized when they came on board, like about 24 months ago, as a matter of fact, was that their key thing is really generating leads and calls with the website. That's all they want their website for, because at the end of the day, all they want to do is be able to cap the phone call. And obviously it may be a bit of a seasonal business. As we've seen, there are some months that our traffic is higher. There are things that are a little bit higher than higher traffic and so on. So the first thing that they wanted to focus on was really on getting a new website that was actually going to get the phone ringing, and as well as to generate some leads online. Prior to having a website like the one they have today, which, by the way, it's already 2 years old, so there's always opportunities for you to upsell your client on new things, on new technologies, new features to make the experience better. This one, for example, it's just a standard WordPress site. It's not responsive, and I'll talk a little bit about that as well. But just going back to the presentation, they were very keen on focusing on traditional advertising, yellow pages, local newspapers, print advertising. So that's where the world they were coming from, and the IC obviously took them from that to a world where now it's a bit more digital for them. They still have long ways to go even after 2 years, but again, it's a small mom and pop business, so there's also expectations that you have to set for yourself, right, about these type of local accounts. Some local or small accounts are very profitable for ICs, while others cannot be so profitable. As a matter of fact, you kind of want to get rid of them because they're just a dead weight and they're causing you a lot of problems. But in this case, this account overall has performed very well, and it's very local. So we jumped into creating a website for them. Like I said, it was a WordPress site that was created for them, and obviously had a lot of different conversion optimization elements that have worked successfully for this website, including the fact that for the most part they are getting telephone calls and obviously completed forms, like I said, it was a very simple, non-responsive WordPress website, because this is about 2 years ago, so responsive was still very in its infancy, and it was basically just a baseline website, a brochure website, if you will, right? And at that stage, when we began working with them, all they wanted us to do was focus on local SEO, which was Issaquah, and I think there was 2 or other counties that they were wanted to be ranking #1 or have top 10 rankings, throughout the time that we began working with them, we started showing some great results. If you go to the next stage, next page, please, Avinish. Showing some results in regards to their performance, and what I kind of wanted to show here is, this is a website that we've provided service for over 2 years, actually going into 29 months, as a matter of fact, and we have made changes to our SEO strategy. It's always good to refresh it at least every 6 to 12 months to look at where the keyword rankings are. Perhaps replace underperforming keywords, add new keywords to it, or if possible, even look at your geo targets. So last year, we kind of did a bit of a change on the overall strategy of the campaign, and we actually tracked some of the results in comparison from last year, exactly the same, so from January to October 28th, and till today. I was able to run the report today, and you look that we had a 7% increase in organic search traffic. Now, it's very important for them to be very local, so we were going after what we like to call long tail keywords, which is actually having the geo target embedded. or optimized with the long tail, which is the actual geo-target ISAQA. With a very small budget, right? As you know, our local SEO package is a very it's our smallest package and a small budget. The client has able to compete with perhaps other companies that are spending more money than them online. Number one, locally. Number two, maintain a very good level of traffic successfully. Number three, being able to withstand the different Google updates that have happened. As you know, there's been companies that have spent hundreds or even thousands of dollars on SEO just to find out one morning or one day that everything they've done, they got penalized. So here it's a little bit of a kudos to our internal team. The fact of the matter is that, you know, a very small local site, if you're doing clean white hat SEO, it's a steady Eddie account, right? Where you're going to be seeing an increase over time in overall performance improvement, right? Now, again, this is for those ICs that are kind of reaching out to local small businesses. You know, we all want accounts to be superstars. We all want accounts to be rising 20% in traffic year over year. Obviously, it all goes back to the level of investment, right? Where we are dealing in a very competitive world, in an SEO competitive world, also very always changing. And in this case, this small account, steady Eddie account, for the past 29 months has been able to achieve some great success, not only just on organic search, Google traffic as well, but also in their keyword placing. For the most part, they're doing very well on Google Places and pretty much, you know, ranking either top third or fourth for the geo-target ISAQA. We are doing, like I said, other geo-targets like Renton and Bellevue, which there are some really good positive signs. For example, in Renton, they're, you know, pretty much ranking also top 5 in Google Places. Organically, we're working with them because obviously Google, as we all know, they feed on content. And this website, because of the budget and the client's limitations, you know, we've only, with our local SEO program, we're only doing one piece of content a month. Obviously, if you want to be more aggressive, and obviously you have to spend more money, and you would probably upgrade them to a foundational. But so far, the client is happy. They have a presence online. They are getting some eyeballs. They are getting calls. They are getting forms completed. So this is for that, you know, local SEO prospect that you might have. You know, they don't have a big budget. Perhaps, you know, they want to have a small presence. And as a matter of fact, in this case, we actually extended the campaign to 10 keywords. Usually with our local SEO, we only do 5. We only recommend 5 to 7 keywords. And at the most, I would always focus on 5. But because we've been with them for such a long time, we've been able to expand our program with them. So if you don't mind, we need to just go into the previous page. Excellent. So lessons learned. Obviously, manage expectations. The size of the advertising budget will equal the level of results. If you have a small budget, like anything, you know, whether it be online, traditional, or any other type of marketing, equally the results will represent the amount of your budget. So you can't really expect to be a superstar and really having high level results if your budget is very low. But in this case, the client is happy. You know, they're spending a bit of money into their digital marketing strategy. Yes, the website has had challenges from time to time, and you know, it's one of those clients that perhaps from time to time you have to go in there, do a bit of a cleanup on their website. Like, for example, we just noticed that their YouTube video is not working. So these are little maintenance things that you want to kind of do as added value to your clients. But it does happen. It's the fact of the matter that we are in our business, right? The only other thing that we've kind of the client has been neglecting, and I know that the IC has been working with, or at least trying to educate the client and persuade them, is in having more social media activity. Now, this is a site that's ranking very well locally, with very little to none social media activity, right? I would definitely bet that if they were to do social media activity, they would actually get better results. But again, client's budget, client's decision, right? We can only work with what we have, right? We can only recommend, we can always consult, but at the end of the day, the client has to make a decision. But they are lacking in social media activity. Also in technology. When we launched this site about 29 months ago, if that's in the internet world, that's a long time. And back then, blogs were, they were important, but they weren't really emphasized as a key important component ingredient on any SEO strategy. As we have been preaching for the past probably 8 to 12 months at ALM, is the fact that if you're going to build a site, spend the extra money. If you're going to do SEO, get a blog, because a blog definitely helps you in organizing all of your content. Google loves blogs, specifically their WordPress. So spend the time to create a blog feature on your client's website, even if it's small. That way, long term, there's a value versus just posting, creating pages on the fly with their existing technology. So blog is very important. Social media, another area that we're trying to work with the client, and also the opportunity to converse the existing website that 29 months ago, responsive was still in its infancy or was still something new. Now that must be adopted, because I can tell you that the clients who really have an issue with their septic pumping, whether it's during bad weather or they will definitely be calling or looking to reach out for the phone. So here's an opportunity for this client to either convert the website to responsive or get a very small mobile 5-page website. At least they have a presence via mobile. So again, the reason I wanted to share this client with everybody is the fact of the matter that sometimes we have large budgeted clients, and sometimes we can't neglect the small clients that some ICs they may have maybe 15 accounts of small clients that all they want to do is advertise, and basically this is a great opportunity for you to do so, have a very small SEO budget with, again, justifiable results, because you get what you put in. Vinish, not sure if you wanted to share any thoughts on your feedback in regards to not only just this campaign but overall local SEO programs.
I mean, we're seeing a lot of feedback when it comes to the pigeon update, right? So there's things that we've covered in our previous webinar. Things like proximity to the centroid is making a big difference for local SEO. So if you do have a business that's kind of like 20 miles is sort of like the threshold. If you're like 20 miles away from the centroid, you're definitely getting impacted with regards to the Google local listings. The bigger brands were definitely impacted, but it's the bigger directories that have benefited out of local SEO. Utilize the whole tactic of barnacle SEO, which is to optimize your pages on these bigger directories. So you optimize your company's page and Yelp, actually build some links for it, so that even though you're not able to beat Yelp, but what you can do is somebody searching for a local hair salon or a local dentist, your website as a part of Yelp's page is the one that's showing up in the top search result. And that is the whole tactic of barnacle SEO. So definitely utilize that. And do not over-optimize. Pigeon's in a state of flux right now, so there's definitely a lot of changes that are taking place on a day-to-day basis. So if you do feel that you've been penalized and your rankings have fallen with regard from the local pack, then it's perhaps you because you're over-optimizing your pages. So try not to put in, like, if you're in a particular metropolitan area, don't put in every single city in the footer. That's a clear spammy tactic, and you see that on a lot of websites. Take that away. Don't put in zip codes. Take that away. Remove that. Clean up your site, and then see what happens to your local pack. So definitely play around with a lot of this stuff, because again, things are in a state of flux right now. Alberta Septic System is actually a website that we also built. So if you do want to use that as an example and showcase that as a website for small businesses, please feel free to do so. It's a pretty self-sustaining website. It's got the the video portion in there, the video introduction from the client. So it's a pretty self-sustaining, good website, very strong call to action all across the board, with their main services very prominently highlighted, as you can see over here. So yep, if you want to use this as an example, please feel free to do so. This is built by us. All right, I think that's pretty much it for this week's webinar. And here's our contact information. If you have any questions, please feel free to get in touch with us. With regards to questions, okay, so Mark has a question with regards to the Bing ID snippet. Should we be utilizing the Microsoft ID in addition to Google Analytics? So, I mean, if you do have Google Analytics installed, Mark, that's a pretty good data set. And again, Google is around 70% of all the traffic on the internet. So I wouldn't worry too much about having the Microsoft snippet in there as well, unless and until it's a pretty big website getting tons of traffic. So you want to really break down and have two sort of different data sets to compare and analyze. But if it's a smaller website getting about 3,000-4,000 visitors a month, I think you're okay with Google Analytics. Be careful about too many snippets because you don't want to impact the load time of the website as well. So you got to be careful there. So Mark has another question with regards to please elaborate why a blog is more effective than additional site pages. So this is a good question, Mark. And what we've seen is that when we are optimizing a blog and adding content on a blog as opposed to let's say article pages or press release pages, we've just seen in our experience that a blog page gets indexed up much faster by Google as opposed to an additional page on a website. It just takes longer for Google to access another page that's a part of either the FAQ or an article resource center or a press release center as opposed to a blog. That's primarily because the way the blog is configured. It's for fresh content. It's for content that's being posted on a consistent basis, and that's probably how the Google bot treats the blog URL and any content that's associated with the blog. So in our experience, we've seen the blogs being indexed a lot faster than the additional site pages, hence making them more effective in terms of putting pages out there. Mike has a question with regards to this particular client that we showcased. Did it take 22 months to get improvements? I see month 7 start and month 29 as the last date. No, as a matter of fact, Mike, we did start seeing some improvements right from month 3, month 2 itself, but we did change keywords and we added in keywords, so which is why we kind of showcased those time frames, month 7, month 29, just sort of like as a benchmark. But just shoot us an email. We'd actually show you month 1 onwards and show you what the progress for this particular client was.
Yeah, sorry to add just to that, Avinish. Also, the fact of the matter is that it just when you're looking at an account with a budget, the point goes, you want to have a steady campaign, right? Meaning that overall, from its inception, although we have made changes to the strategy and keywords and even geo targets as we were trying to identify what was the best formula. Overall, I would tell you that from month to month, rankings has been pretty much the same, right? Even since, like Vinish said, since month 3 to now. So because of the site now has a good SEO authority, whenever we do a change, it's a little bit faster for those changes to take place and to create top rankings.
Terrific. Oh, that's great. Yep, Mike, definitely. I'll pass any information over to Maria requesting more information on this particular client, and we'll send that over to you, Mike. Good stuff. I think that's pretty much it. No more questions. Thank you so much for joining us for this week's edition of our LaunchPad webinar series. Hopefully Armando feels better, and we'll be back with you next week. We are lining up a special guest for our webinar either next week or the week after. We'll keep you posted, but we are trying to line up a guest speaker from either Google or Bing, so that should be a good one. So definitely stay tuned for that. Great. Thanks again. Have a terrific week, everyone. Take care.